side would you like to get started so you can get home? Thank you all for coming tonight. And I want to say welcome and thank you for joining us at tonight's meeting. I'm Janine Wilson. I serve as the president of our CIO, Riverpark Community Involvement Organization. Our board of volunteers includes our vice president, Chris Tunstall, hand up. Our secretary, Kate Pinimonte. Our land use officer, Rocky Bixby. And the treasurer is Cynthia Martinez. She's working tonight, so she could not be here. There are 6 residential CIOs and 1 commercial CIO. We are all volunteers who can address community concerns while working in partnership with the city. I'm pleased to thank Megan George, our deputy city manager, and Betsy Roof for helping with tonight's presentation. And thank you to our speakers, who you will hear from soon. The mailed notice for this meeting included almost 3,000 residents in the Riverpark community. And we've had signs and cards and advertisements, but I know this group might be a little bit meetinged out as they were at a pretty late meeting the other night. The CIO has worked successfully with community on issues such as Grimm's, a gas station in Pony Ridge, the dog park, and making Tualatin Road safer with crosswalks and traffic calming devices. I attended LAM's neighborhood meeting in June of 2024. It's been that long, huh? And I heard your many, many concerns regarding the planned expansion. Your voice was heard with LAM deleting a driveway to Tualatin Road at 115th, and I think that was a super victory. I will now introduce our first speaker, who's our Riverpark resident and our mayor, Frank Buenek.
Hey folks, the microphone's being a little funky. Is it better to use it and have that feedback, or not use it and have our speakers talk loud?
I can talk loud. Yeah. Okay. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for coming tonight. It's my pleasure to present tonight the City Council update, and then it's not going to take the whole, I think I was allocated 15 minutes, so I'm open to Q&A after the presentation. So hopefully you know who's on your City Council. We have some newly re-elected officials, and then next year, 2026, November 26th, there are going to be a big elections. I'm termed out, so I'm done. So there'll be an open mayor's seat, so look for that. And there's a couple other councilors who will be up for re-election in November 26th. Warm way. Right, so legislative update. We hired Thorn Run Partners, which is a lobbying firm, to help us out in Washington, D.C. and down in Salem. They've done a fantastic job for us. In Oregon, they helped us secure a $1.75 million grant from the state legislature for seismic valves. And people ask me, what the heck are those? So you know those big water towers we have throughout the city? We have 4 of them. The issue we have right now is the valve that keeps the water in the event of an earthquake, they can break and all that water will disperse. And so we realized that's a problem because we want the water here in case there's an earthquake, and we didn't have the $1.75 million in our budget to pay for them. So we worked the legislator pretty hard. Jules Walters, our legislator, and Senator Wagner were key in getting us this money. We spent a couple of trips down to Salem lobbying for it, and it paid off in the end. So these 4 valves, we've gotten actually the money already. Public Works is working on getting them put on. And what they do is, in the event there is an earthquake, these valves will not break. So the water will be retained, so we'll have these 4 containers worth of water in the city to use in the event, you know, the catastrophic earthquake comes, and we at least have some water, plus what we have in the aquifer, to at least distribute to people in the event of emergency. So that was a big win for us. On the federal side, we've had a win that was taken away. So you might have heard about the $15 million EV charger grant that we won under the Biden administration. What that plan was to install EV chargers along 84 from Troutdale to Portland, down I-5 down to Salem. So Alton was going to be the lead agency in deploying roughly 500 chargers or so throughout the area, and that would have been in public spots and low-income housing, multifamily housing, so that we can expand the use of EVs. The Trump administration put a pause on that. It's still on a pause right now. It's being challenged in court, his ability to do that. We also asked for $3 million from Congresswoman Salinas for the interchange of 65th, Borland, and Saginaw, and Sylvia Hospital. If you've ever been there in the morning, you all know that those lights aren't super coordinated sometimes between Saginaw and 65th. And so we have a beautiful plan to fix the issue. We asked for $3 million, we got $250,000. So we're working with the Congresswoman and our senators right now to figure out, do we reapply, what's the best strategy, because we don't want to turn it down, because we don't want to look ungrateful, because we did get $1 million grant from Congresswoman Salinas before that for the police roof, but that $1 million disappeared back when Congress redid their budget. The last continuing resolution, one of the concessions was all those earmarks were canceled. So we've kind of got hosed out of $16 million in town under the Trump administration, despite all the efforts of Thorn Run. But they've been fantastic for us. We're going to keep working on trying to get that $3 million because we do want to get that intersection fixed because it causes some serious backups, especially when school's in session. Fall winter events, 3 of these got coming up here. So you've got the yard debris drop off at Grimm's. I'm sorry, and remember, you had to bring proof of your residency and bring cans for the food pantry. Spruce up the library, always looking for volunteers to go in here and clean up the library. Tap House Trivia with Doug, November 30th, that's always a lot of fun. This guy's really good at doing trivia. He also does it at Stickman, so he's so good with this. This will be held in the library. And the big one coming up that everybody loves is the 12th and Lights Parade is coming up here December 5th, 6th, and 7th. Our neighborhood is Friday the 5th. So be ready for that. Hopefully the weather will not be like this. It'll be nice and dry. It makes the driving through town for those 3 nights way nicer than when it's pouring rain with my window open. But I love doing it. It's a lot of fun because people get pretty jazzed, and kids especially. Wrong way again. Right. Hopefully you've heard about this. If not, this is the reason we're talking about it. So Meals on Wheels was struggling at the Pole Center, and they withdrew from supplying meals to our seniors several months ago. And City Council realized, it's very important for our seniors to have a lunch at least twice a week, and to get together, have a place to socialize, and have at least 2 certain meals that they can count on. So we set aside money in the budget to pay for these meals for the next year, and it's been a fantastic response. Back when Meals on Wheels were doing it, they were getting 5 to 8 people. We're getting 30 to 45 twice a week. The menus are published in advance so people can see what's on the menu for the whole month. And a donation is suggested. You don't have to pay. One of the things I said when we stood this up is if someone doesn't have the money, I don't want them barred from doing this. So the city is allocating some money, but we're also doing some fundraising. So if you know of a business or someone who'd like to donate, it's as little as $300. You can sponsor one lunch, and then if you want to promote it more, you can. But it's very inexpensive. It's good for the community. Has had a fantastic response. If you haven't tried it, you can always drop in yourself. Tuesdays and Thursdays. You've just got to let this Pole Center know you're coming, so they have enough meals, and try it out. The lunch that I sponsored was egg salad, and I can't stand egg salad. So I didn't have the egg salad, but the desserts with strawberry shortcake, holy, people have taken it home. So My wife did a sponsored meal. She ended up getting a really good one. She had like a pork thing. So, but check it out. If, you know, again, you don't have to be impoverished or anything to go to this. It's just where people can come to socialize, and it's a great $5 lunch. So climate action funding. So we have a climate action plan that was adopted in 2024, and we had the challenge we had is we had to find funding to pay for the person who's going to lead this charge. We've got hundreds of actions to do under our climate action plan, but we didn't have existing staff to basically coordinate this. So what we came up with is 2 ways to finance it. One is what we're calling the pennies for climate action plan, and that's 99 cents we put on your utility bill. And I've already got some emails from people saying, I don't want to pay for this, and that's fine. All you have to do is go to the city's website and you can opt out. And you have till January to opt out. And if you don't want to pay the 99 cents, it's easy peasy. Just go to the city's website and disenroll, and it'll be taken off your bill. If you want to support the plan, just leave it on there. It's only $1 a month to help pay for the position. There was also a 0.3% increase to the PGE franchise fee. People say, what's that going to cost me? It's 50 cents a month. That's all it is. So additional 50 cents might be on your electric bill. We're not too sure if PGE is going to pass it on or not, but the most it's going to be is probably around 50 cents on your electric bill. And this will help pay for the staff position that's going to coordinate all our climate action items for the next few years. Another thing that is one of the fun things to do in kind of way, because it's fun but it's hard in a way. Outside agency grants, we have money put away each year to award $50,000 to not-for-profits that provide services to residents in Tualatin. The not fun part is, of course, we get asked for upwards, what was it, $150,000, $200,000. And we have to pick what group gets the $50,000. That's the part that really stinks. But you can look at the list of the agencies here in town that we end up awarding money to. Some have been a long history with us, some are brand new. Some of them have significant impact here in town. For example, Tualatin Food Pantry, the Borland Free Clinic, Neighbors Nursing Communities. People ask about Community Warehouse. Community Warehouse is still around. They just outgrew the size of this warehouse in town, and also had the flooding issue 3 times, where the water came out of the floor and destroyed their inventory. So they decided to get out of that building, and now it's going to be a pickleball court where, who cares if it gets wet? But all these agencies do a fantastic, and they have to substantiate what they're going to do in our community and come to city council and show results. It's not like we give out the money and they don't do anything. They have to show results for this money, and every single one of them have exact counts of who they've impacted here in town. And that's all I have. So now it's up to Q&A. Floor is open.
When were the valves going to get installed?
I think in the next, I'd say within next year, at least, because part of it was getting the money, getting it planned, getting them ordered. Of course, everything's taking forever, but it's going to be within the next year. Because we're allowed to grab that money and run before it disappears. No clawbacks here. Too bad they're already in the water containers. Other questions? Yes.
I have a few questions about the pennies for climate.
Sure.
How are the funds going to be used?
It's to pay for the staff person. So the person who's going to be coordinating our climate action items is for that staff person. It pays for the position.
Okay, to segue into that, is that person going to solicit suggestions from the community what to do for Tualatin to mitigate the climate change?
Yes. So we have action items and we have goals. And so when we start getting those things that impact residents, like businesses, one of their position items to do is to reach out to the community and find out, because we don't want to roll out plans and people are like, WTF.
Exactly.
Especially on businesses where we say, oh, so we want you to do this, and they're like, what? So part of the person's job is public outreach.
Okay.
Yep.
So that person has been hired already?
They're recruiting right now. I was surprised. I thought, you put up a position like that, not many people do this. Wasn't it over 100 people applied? Yeah. This is a desired position. So we're gonna probably have a really good person after these people are screened.
And is it a short-term, medium-term?
It's long-term, yeah.
Long-term?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because no one's gonna come for a short-term position, that's why we had to have permanent funding, that's why we went this route.
Thank you.
Sure. Other questions? I'll shut up and we can get on earlier maybe. All right, well, thanks for coming again tonight.
Next up is we have Sergeant Chris Turner to tell us about crime stats and maybe
Man,
give
that's
us,
me.
give us some ideas about staying safe.
Of course. I'll screw it up at least twice. I realize today's probably been quite some time since I've done a presentation for the CIO, so I just wanted to reintroduce myself. My name is Chris Turner, and I'm a patrol sergeant with the Tualatin Police Department. I've been with Tualatin a little over 13 years now. I've been in law enforcement since 2001. I started in Southern Oregon. Come from a law enforcement family. My dad was a deputy down in California. My brother is currently a state trooper here, so I'd say it runs in the blood, or maybe we're just all that dumb. I don't know. Anyway, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. I do have a presentation with you, or for you. Just kind of tell you what's going on with the department, just kind of give you some numbers and stats. So I apologize if I'm reading off of my own PowerPoint. I pulled some numbers, our records pulled some numbers, and I don't have them memorized, so I will be reading them along with you. So we do provide 24/7 police services to the city of Tualatin, and we also provide them to the city of Durham, which we contract with to provide police services for them. We currently have about 40 sworn members. Sworn members are those that carry the badge and gun, but then we also have 8 support staff, and that's our record staff, evidence clerk, and we have I don't know what her title is, program manager that also does some community engagement and some other office staff. We work 3 10-hour shifts. Our day shift goes from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Our swing shift goes from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. And then our overnight shift goes from 8 p.m. until 6 a.m. So we have a little bit of overlap between our days and swing shift, and then our swing shift and day shift. And that allows some of those officers to catch up on reports because there's additional officers on the road to handle calls for service. Our officers include, we have 2 motor officers on motorcycles there that are traffic enforcement. We currently have 2 detectives and a detective sergeant. We have 2 school resource officers, one that is stationed at the high school and the other is at Hazelbrook Middle School. And we have a code enforcement officer, Ken Fresher. He does a lot of the things, abandoned vehicles, does a lot of the city code enforcement for us. And then, as I mentioned, our records and evidence unit. Okay. Well, this is my old one, so I updated this for 2025. But all the numbers are actually pretty close to the same. Year to date for us this year in 2025, we're over 19,500 calls for service. We have over 5,000 traffic stops, and then the reports written are about the same, and then the arrests were about the same for 2025. So I apologize, that's the old numbers up there. But there's not been a significant change. You might get obviously a little higher in the traffic stops and arrests, but not, I don't think, statistically significant. The city of Tualatin is divided into 3 patrol districts. The Riverpark CIO is in what we call our District 3, which is kind of like the northwest portion of the city. We also have District 2, which is the south side of the city. And then our District 1 is mostly the east side. That kind of goes into Clackamas County there. And then our 4th district is actually just the city of Durham, what we call District 4. Riverpark CIO, as I mentioned, is in District 3. We have 2 total CIOs. We have this one as well as the commercial CIO in District 3. Every officer from our shift is assigned to a specific district, and so they respond to calls for service during that district, and are responsible for patrolling the neighborhoods and answering your calls for service. We also have some furry pals that work with us. Canine Drea is our newest member of this team. She's a narcotics detection dog. She began service on July 30th. If you remember, we had Tony, who was a German Shepherd, who was a detection dog, who retired this year. And just I got a little hero sheet from his handler, Officer Radakovich, just to kind of give you an idea of what Tony does for the community and for the surrounding area here. Tony in his lifetime had discovered 46 pounds of heroin, 46 pounds of cocaine, 533 pounds of meth, 12 pounds of fentanyl powder, and 402,336 units of fentanyl pills, in addition to 12 guns. Now, that's impressive. Daria, who's a very young dog and just started July 30, she has already discovered 168.9 pounds of meth, 2.83 pounds of heroin, 3.26 pounds of cocaine, and a combined of pills and powder of 17.3 pounds of fentanyl, and also she's discovered 2 guns. I was with Officer Radakovich in some of the selection process, and Drea is an amazing dog. She's super young, super friendly, and she's very, very active, and I think she's going to have a very good and fruitful career with the Tualatin Police Department. Onyx is the guy that hangs around our office and steals our sandwiches. But we're also able to bring him out onto critical incident calls for folks that maybe need some sort of a calming presence. But other than stealing our food, he provides a calming presence around the office as well. Canine Boone, also pretty new. He's our patrol tracking canine. His handler, Officer Foltz, has not been in the office. I was looking for kind of a hero sheet as to what he's accomplished so far being in service, but I was not able to get that from him. But those are your 3 Tualatin canines. Also, our Tualatin Small Unmanned Aircraft System program, also known as drone program. That's just a year since that's been created. We use drones to protect lives and the property of law enforcement as well as the community. We provide us with important information during emergency situations and criminal investigations. So these aren't used for surveillance. These aren't hanging over your backyard and looking in to see what you're doing or see what you're watching on TV. Oregon law kind of prohibits the use of drones by law enforcement, and the only time that we can use them without a search warrant is when there's emergency situations, like if we have a suspect that's running that we need to locate, or if there's an emergency situation inside of a house, like if there's a burglary or something like that, we can send one in there. But they're not going to be doing overwatch of like public gatherings or anything like that. It's Oregon law limits our use of those to those specific purposes. We currently have 4 members. We're all certified through the FAA for what's called Part 107 unmanned aircraft license. It's not a terribly hard test, but it does require a decent amount of studying to pass. We have 2 patrol supervisors, one of whom is myself, and 2 officers currently on that team. We're looking to add maybe 1 or 2 more pilots just to be able to spread our coverage out throughout the shifts, because most of those people are on the overnight shift, and so during the day shift and swing shifts, we don't have a lot of coverage if they are needed for call for service. And I already talked about that they're only deployed during emergency situations. It says event overwatch there. I think the more appropriate term would be incident overwatch, because again, we're not going to public gatherings, we're not going to where there's demonstrations or anything like that. They're not meant for that at all. But another use that's helpful to us is search and rescue. So our use is governed by FAA regulations, state law, and also our policy, which that web address right there will get you to what our policies and procedures are in terms of operating the drones. We currently have 2 aircraft as part of our program. One of them that you see here is called an M30T. It's equipped with a zoom camera as well as a thermal camera and a laser rangefinder. So at night, you're able to pick up people that are running or trying to hide from you in the woods with the thermal camera. And the other one is called an Avata 2, and that's more of an interior drone. It's a pretty rugged one that's probably only about that big. It's equipped with lights so that we can take that into dark places and look for somebody that's trying to hide and turn a burglary call or something of that nature. So A lot of the reports we take in terms of scams and frauds, we just wanted to put out some information in terms of what to be aware of. And a lot of these involve text messages, emails, phone calls that you may not be expecting. And also, the first one addresses, like when you're out shopping, like a supermarket or whatever, don't allow your purse or wallet out of your sight. Like, we take a lot of calls where folks leave that in their shopping cart. They go to grab some items off the shelf, or they're distracted by another person. That's another one of their MOs, is they'll have someone distract you while you're shopping, and then the other person will grab your wallet, and then they're beaten to Best Buy, Target, the Apple Store, and they're trying to buy laptops and high-dollar items with their credit cards really quick so that they can go and sell them for whatever it is they need the money for. Also, don't carry all of your credit cards at the same time. I would not carry your Social Security card with you unless you need it for whatever business you're conducting that day. That would help just kind of avoiding any more additional fraud with the Social Security number, opening accounts with like cell phone companies and stuff like that. We have a lot of that happens as well when they're able to get a hold of your Social Security number. And then with your bank, have a way to access your online banking so that you can check activity if your card is lost or stolen. I know a lot of banks have mobile phone apps that you can put on there that you can check balances, you can check transactions that have gone through, just to make sure that you don't have any fraudulent activity on there. When you have credit card readers, what I usually do, because I'm just super paranoid, is like whenever I go to a credit card reader, whether it be the ATM at the bank or at the 7-Eleven, I always kind of give it a little tug, because they have like little overlays that go there, and then they'll have a chip, and sometimes they'll even have like a little pinhole camera that can record you putting in your PIN number. And so I just always kind of give it just a little tug, just make sure something's not coming out super easy, just to avoid someone skimming your number and getting your PIN number as well. Suspicious phone numbers. We had a lot of like your car warranty is about to expire, or there's been fraudulent activity on your bank account. But what they're doing is they're trying to elicit information from you, and so unfortunately, my folks fell victim to this. I think last year, where someone calls, says there's fraudulent activity on your bank account, but then they're asking you for information to verify your account, and so they'll get your bank account number and all of this other information for you to allow them to access that and make purchases or take money out of your account. So your bank should have all that number, and if you don't trust the number that someone's calling you that claims to be your bank, I would always just hang up on them and actually just call like the fraud department or someone, get a hold of an actual person that you know that is the number associated with the bank before doing any business with them. Suspicious emails, and I should say text messages as well, because a lot of these text messages will come across like, we'll have like your packages being held up at the U.S. Postal Service, and then they'll have a link for you to, and so when you hit that link, then there's going to be malicious software that's downloaded on your phone or whatever device it is that you're accessing on. So just be really careful of those. And then for phone calls, I haven't heard of any recently, but like they'll call and say that there's a warrant for your arrest, and if you want to take care of this warrant, go and buy these gift cards to pay off the warrant, or go to this Bitcoin ATM and purchase such amount of Bitcoin. So if you know automatically if it's Bitcoin, gift cards, or any sort of money that they're asking from you to make the warrant go away, that's not how it works, and will never work. So just be wary of those. I know it's hard sometimes, and some of these folks are really good at what they do, but I would just be really suspicious and maybe as paranoid as I am. I just had a friend that I had in junior high just texted me out of the blue, and I didn't know him or his number, and so it required a very long string of text messages before I actually knew that it was him. So I'm just paranoid by text messages that you're not expecting or that aren't in your contact list. So this is our calls for service, and this is a person crime comparison. So the numbers in blue are what are labeled as person crimes, and like assaults, murders, but like harassments or anything like that that involves like a victim that's an actual person and not property being damaged or stolen. And then the property calls will be those, like I just mentioned, if there's any damage to your property, there's any theft of any sort. And so that you'll see the numbers there. They're really, really low. And then when I show you this next slide in the comparison to the commercial CIO that's in District 3, you'll see just where they rank with. So our person crimes, those are the totals right there for the Riverpark. And then for all of District 3, those are the total numbers, property crimes there, and then for all of District 3. So you can see that the reports that we're taking in relation to these person, property, and society crimes are a very, very small percentage of the calls for service and crimes that occur in District 3. I had a slide that kind of broke those down a little better, but those are numbers that were pulled for our by our records manager that I had some new ones that kind of broke them down just a little bit better, compared them with the commercial CI a little better, but I apologize I don't have those for you. This is, it's called City Protect. It's like a crime mapping service that you can sign up for. It's also mobile friendly, so that you can get it on your phone. You sign up, you can actually, it maps the crimes and you can see active police incidents and stuff that are happening in your neighborhood. It also allows you to submit anonymous tips, and then also see our agency profile. So that's just one way to kind of see what's going on in your neighborhood beyond what you're learning today. So that's just one good way to kind of just be in the know and see what's going on with your friends and neighbors. And I can leave that up there if someone wants a picture or something of it. But City Protect is the name, and then we are present on there, and it'll map all those out for you. Then we also have a social media presence. Our website is there at the top. Our Facebook profile is there in the middle. And the last one is an Instagram. I am not on any social media, so I just assume you can go to those and see what our pages present to you. So I'm not the expert in that, but there's some good outreach that program manager Jennifer Massey does, lets you know of city events that are coming up, particularly ones that involve the person. And before I finish off with my very handsome picture up there, although it is sans mustache, so not nearly as handsome as I am today, but another hot button topic has been like ICE activity within the city. I just wanted to reiterate that Oregon law prohibits us from assisting ICE in any way to enforce immigration laws, so we will not be a part of that at all. We are also not able to hinder any of their operations or apprehensions, so we just don't have any involvement with them. Generally, they don't give us a heads up that they're in town, although I've heard that the last week or so they've done a little better with that. And I'm only aware of a handful of incidents. I don't have an exact number for you, but just to reiterate, we have nothing to do with the enforcement of immigration policy, just because we're prohibited by state law to stay out of it. There is an exception for us to be able to serve arrest warrants or warrants that are issued by a magistrate, which are actually criminal warrants. That doesn't mean we're going out and seeking to serve those. It just means that if we happen to run across one and it's actually one that's issued by a federal magistrate, we can serve it. But the majority of these warrants are what are called administrative warrants, and those are ones that are actually issued by a federal agency, whether it be ICE, Border Patrol, Department of Homeland Security, and they're issued by someone that's not a magistrate, but maybe just be like an immigration judge or something like that, and we can't touch those. But again, we're not going and combing the records to see if any of those are out there to go and serve those. Oh, and one little note that I had, we do have 2 new officers that are currently at the police academy that are set to graduate next month. excited to have them, and they'll begin their field training and for another 30 weeks or so. Hopefully, they'll be out on the street able to serve you. But that's my contact information. Should you ever need to reach me, the desk line goes directly to my office. I generally work day shift 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. and I work Monday through Thursday. So if I'm not available or out on a call or something, just feel free to leave a voicemail. I've got my little R2D2 in my car that lets me know when I get voicemail. So I will return the call. Generally, unless I'm out at some training or something, it should be within that day. Just hopefully next. With that, are there any questions I can try and answer before I take my leave?
I have a question. Could you give us a few more details about what the code enforcement officer deal with?
Yeah, he'll generally deal with like abandoned vehicle calls, city code enforcement, has to do a lot with like frontage or weeds or yards or trash piling up on someone's yard. And just a lot of different tasks that maybe wouldn't be best served by a police officer. So those are like the two main ones that I can think of. He does have some other duties that he helps with. If it's found property or something, a lot of times the bicycles are called in because they've been left at a location too long. He'll take those in, keep them for a certain period of time, and then they're donated to a bike program that they're not paying. But several smaller ancillary duties, but the enforcement of municipal code and abandoned vehicles will take a lot of his time. He also deals a lot with transient camps. If you see those around, they'll post them for cleanup because of the trash around and stuff. So he does a lot of that as well.
Does he deal with ADA enforcement?
I do not believe so, but I would have to ask him to know for sure. But I don't think that is something.
I've seen a lot of vehicles being left halfway in the driveway and the other half completely blocking
Mhm.
the right of passage.
Mhm.
So people with dogs, kids,
Sure.
or in a wheelchair, they don't have to get in the street to get around.
Yeah.
So I've seen it multiple locations in the city.
Yeah, so actually, now that you phrase it like that, that would also be, because he does, with the abandoned vehicles also implies the parked vehicles, if there's parking violations, so he'll deal with those as well. So yes, that would be something that
How long can you leave a car parked down the street?
72 hours.
72 hours. And then can you just move it like down the street a bit, or do you let it shine?
Yeah.
Just between two places, is that?
Yes, it's, so that causes some consternation at times, but that's what we have to deal with. It's the 72-hour storage on the street. But if you move it somewhere else within that 72 hours, then the clock starts again. So if you know the rules and kind of play around them, unfortunately, it doesn't really solve the problem necessarily.
I have a question
Of
for
course.
you. Neighborhood Watch, does Tualatin have one other than in Washington County? Because we've been trying to do, we live in, where do we live? Geneva, thank you. And we've had some problems with people getting broken into.
Sure.
And so we want to do this, but Washington County doesn't seem to want to give us a lot of information on how to do it. That's why I was asking if you had that kind of thing, or we just exactly where we have to go.
So I'm not aware that we have neighborhood watch in the city of Walton, but a good contact person for that to at least get the ball rolling would be Jennifer Massey. I don't know her direct line, but if you call our office line during business hours.
Your office line?
Just our general office line. And then ask for Jennifer. She's the community outreach, and then she can kind of maybe have some more information for you.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Chris, I wanted to ask about RVs. We have folks that are sort of living in RVs and parked on the street. How long are they supposed to stay there?
72 hours.
Is it 72 hours?
Yeah,
Wow.
so we've had some problems, like in the Hightel 115th area, there by like where the new Amazon warehouse and stuff. Got some RVs that have accumulated, but Ken, our CSO, does a pretty good job of kind of keeping on top of that to make sure that they're moving when they're supposed to be, and if they're not, then take care of that, as I said.
Do they have to be able to start, or they can just push them?
I don't know.
Asking for a
That, I don't know that answer right off the top of my head. But I imagine does exist, but we do not use it. The district attorney's office will not accept it if it's a AI generated work. So, but I don't see that changing anytime in the near future.
Any update on Hazelbrook School enforcement down there? We had some questions from the community, I think it was a year or two ago. Traffic and children in that area.
I don't know any specific updates to that, no. So, like specifically in terms of like traffic enforcement or?
Yeah, I can't even remember what it was exactly. Anybody else?
Maybe at 1:15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
everybody just
If
runs
they-
through stuff.
If they were to have like a school guard type person there during the incoming and the exit times of school, that would be the school's responsibility?
I believe so. Yeah. But yeah, I applaud it.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
So I wasn't aware of the concerns. A lot of that goes to our traffic sergeant.
Sure.
It's not, unfortunately.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, apologize. Anything else?
You,
Oh, I'm getting called for time. Can I take one more? All right, one more, and then I'm getting cut off, getting played off. Yeah, that's you.
sorry. Do you guys have any stats on unhoused people in Walton?
I don't know that we currently keep statistics of like, the number of them. We don't know that answer.
I can chime in on that one.
Sure, of course.
If I can. Hi, everybody. I'm Deputy City Manager Megan George. Every 2 years, there is a point in time count that occurs throughout the state that's administered by folks in Washington County. So they provide county level data. They are due to get their annual report on this last year, I think at the December City Council meeting, update to the councilors in the room. We don't know specifically how many people are experiencing houselessness in Tualatin or homelessness in Tualatin, but we do know that generally for the county, from the last point in time count, that for every 10 people who are exiting the homeless services system, an additional 15 people are entering. So despite all of the investment that has occurred over the last few years in shelters and housing, there's still a significant need. And several of the agencies that the mayor highlighted that receive grant funding from the city are providing services to folks experiencing this housing.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to me, and I will appreciate my vote. So, hope you guys have a great rest of your night.
So next up, we're gonna hear from Brett Hamilton. Brett's been on a mission that you're all probably aware of. And he's gonna give a report on status and perhaps next steps.
Good evening, thanks to the CL for letting me present. So on Monday evening at the public hearing, the City Council of Tualatin voted to uphold the Architecture Review Board's decision approving Lamb's Tuck project that would open an unnecessary driveway just 320 feet from Tualatin Road. And the community had been asking for two conditions. One was that north entrance remain closed to employee traffic, and two, that the city require Lamb to somehow mitigate their off-site noise impacts. And the council did not add either of those two conditions to their approval, so the appeal was denied. We're disappointed that the city council didn't use this appeal process as an opportunity to fight for neighborhood livability, or to protect our community from the foreseeable negative impacts from Lamb's expansion. We presented a solution that we thought would have allowed Lamb to continue to grow in a way that would not harm the community, but the city didn't do that. So as a result, we can expect to see 200 more cars per day on Tualatin Road and a 30% increase in the amount of turning traffic volume at 108, which would expect to see a 30% increase in traffic crashes at that intersection. The city's position is that none of those impacts are significant, and we disagree. As for noise, Lamb's site is currently in violation of the Tualatin noise ordinance, and their expanded campus, based on their data, will be significantly louder. So unless Lamb does something now, before they built the new campus, to mitigate the current noise impacts, it is absolutely certain that their new campus will be violating the noise ordinance to a much greater degree. Last November, we notified the city council about these noise issues, and I filed 5 complaints with law enforcement at the instructions of our, I forget who it was, but it wasn't until the community hired an acoustical engineer that the city began to take these noise consideration seriously, and our engineer proved that in winter conditions, land is violating the 50 decibel noise limit on private property by 2 decibels. During this appeal process, the community raised enough money to hire an attorney, Andrew Volke, and he discovered that by focusing on the decibel reading alone, the city is ignoring and misinterpreting the noise ordinance, specifically that land's current impacts may represent a noise disturbance, actually not may, they absolutely do represent a noise disturbance, which is a separate provision of the noise ordinance, regardless of the decibel level. And all of this is outlined in Andrew's letters to the city. They're all part of the public record, and they're all available on our website at tualatinroad.org. You can grab a business card from me, or there's some on the table there to get to the website. I want to offer a big thank you to the CIO for holding this meeting, and for the one who was literally like a year ago, like tonight, that provided a venue for questions and answers, and gives citizens an opportunity to advocate for our needs. I believe that that meeting, to a large degree, is what convinced land that their 115th and 12th Road entrance was not approvable. And land made a large and meaningful change. Unfortunately, they moved the problem around the corner to 108. It's not as big of a problem, but it's still 200 cars is a lot of cars. We had a petition with 200 people on it, and I was like, flipping through, I'm like, that's one person that's a lot of people. That's a lot of cars. Last year at this meeting, Bonnie Peterson asked a really good question. She said, who at the city is advocating for the residents? And it took 17 months, but I have your answer, which is, we'll get to it. The planning department advocates for development, and they are on the sides of the land use application. And that's their job, like that's what they're hired to do. And the engineering department advocates for the cars and for the streets. And normally the city council advocates for residents. And like, for example, during the TSP update this summer, the city council heard our concerns. They took meaningful action to protect our neighborhoods from the impacts of the traffic light that's going to have unintended consequences. So normally we can rely on our city council, but land use battles are a different animal. In a land use case, since the city council is going to be the judge, they are legally required to remain neutral, so they can't advocate for either side. They can't even have discussions with the residents about the issue. For over a year and a half, we were just waiting, like, hope they hear us. And the CIO can't take a position on land use issues either. So the CIO can't be our advocate on a land use case. So what we learned during the past 17 months is there is no one at the city who advocates for the residents in a land use case. So the community has been left to fend for ourselves, and it has been hard. We are amateur volunteers up against a well-funded group of professionals who do this for a living, and they have basically an unlimited budget. They're a $5 billion company, and we're just a bunch of old dudes at our house. And the applicant has help from the city. So of course the outcome is going to skew in favor of the applicant. One of the other issues is we submitted like hundreds of pages, like 800 pages of public comments. There was so much evidence. Some of it was not considered. Some of the decision makers were not even aware of key pieces of evidence that were on the record. And that's part of what we're up against. We have no way to make sure that they know the facts. Because we can't talk to them for a year and a half. So up until the appeal hearing, no one in our community had even more than 3 minutes to talk about this issue. And it's outrageous. So in order to get a 10 to 15 minute presentation, we had to spend $172 to appeal the decision. And I think that's wrong, and I think there's got to be a better way. So as a result, tonight, I would propose that the city of Tualatin create an office of livability to hire somebody to be an independent advocate for the residents in these land use cases, because without it, we're on our own. Because city staff in the planning department has a major conflict of interest, as demonstrated by the way they handled some of the public records requests. The planning department cannot fight for the applicant and for the residents. There are a couple other ideas that came up during this process. One is that in order to reduce the traffic volume on Tualatin Road and kind of make up for the additional traffic that's going to be added, I would ask the city to look at redesigning the Herman Road, Tualatin Road intersection to divert some traffic down Herman Road. Right now there's a stoplight that discourages you from taking Herman Road, but it's always open to take Tualatin Road, and we're trying to figure out, is there a way to reverse that so that it's always open to go Herman Road? I don't know if you can do it because of the rights and lefts, but a roundabout, at very least, would make those two options equally difficult or equally easy. So at least don't make Tualatin Road the easy route, because people are gonna take the path of least resistance, and the design of that intersection should take that into account. And also the folks on Shining Way, who are just before that intersection, they have to cross multiple lanes of traffic, getting in and out. So if you put a roundabout in there, it could tie all of those together. They hop on the roundabout, drive around to wherever they want to go, and get on the merry way. The other option, the other item that multiple people have mentioned is lowering the speed limits. So 115th and Jurgens Avenue are currently 35 miles an hour, which I think is way too fast. Mike McCarthy said the state has passed a new law for if you have an entrance that's a multifamily, like an apartment building, it counts more than just somebody's driveway. So on 115th, there's multiple apartment entrances. He says it's potentially feasible to lower that speed limit. We'd like to ask them to also look at Hazelbrook Road and Tualatin Road. 35 miles an hour, lower it down to 30. Seems like a reasonable thing to do. If we're trying to discourage out-of-towners who don't live here, they don't work here, and they're just driving through our town to get from where they're going, somehow encourage them, Herman Road or 12th Stewart Road, don't take, save Tualatin Road for people who live here. And there's also an especially dangerous situation on Hazelbrook between 115th and 99 across the street from the River Keepers. If you're going towards 115th, which not a lot of people go that way because it's coming off of high, there's a weird little on-ramp, but it's 35 miles an hour and you're driving like inches away from people's rear view mirrors. There's no margin between your car and the parked cars. And I think you ought to look at reducing that speed limit in there. It's also, the school zone is right there. So it seems like that speed limit could be reduced too. So that's the update for Tualatin Road. There's another project we've been working on too, related to Grim Steel, which we thought were done, right? Like they put on their new system, we move on to our lives, except then after 5 years, over the objections of Mayor Bubanek and the community, Metro decided, you know, it's working too well with this 12 inches of pile cover. Well, let's cut it in half and see what happens. So they did. They reduced Grim's pile cover thickness, which is it's basically finished compost. That it's a filter. It filters out the smell. And this last fall, the stink has been worse. And I've been calling, asked who's Grim's. Jeff Grim's like, oh no, we haven't changed anything. We're still using 12 inches. I'm like, oh, when are you going to change it? Crickets, right? Doesn't write back. So I'm asking Metro, are you sure he's using 12 inches? And they're like, they're kind of being cagey. Finally, they admit that no, he switched to 6 inches a while back. And Metro is not, they don't know when. It's just this very weird thing. And so the odors have started increasing. So, but I have some breaking news tonight, which is we just learned that Metro inspectors do not have the ability to actually measure the biocover, which is why they can't answer our question. They don't, I don't know if it's not a measuring stick or whatever, they don't know what Grims is doing. They just ask Grim, what are you doing? How many inches? Or whatever Jeff Grims is using. So that the only measurement that we had in this permit that was like numerical, like objective measurement that we're relying on, we have no idea. So this proves what we've been saying for years, which is the community needs a way to track and record and quantify the odor, the air quality, not just the odor impacts, but something we can measure. Because the odor reports are totally inadequate. Metro doesn't take them seriously. Jeff Grimm disputes them. Whenever the wind's blowing wrong, he'll tell you, oh, it can't be us because the wind, the last 2 times he sent that, he sent the wind report from a different day than the day I was over, and I'm like, dude, that's the wrong day. So, we wanted to install air quality monitors. We've been asking DEQ, Metro, they're not interested. In the olden days, the equipment was so expensive that the only people who could afford it was like the budget for a regulator. Well, thankfully, due to advances in technology, the costs have come down. So it's now within reach of consumers. There's a company called Purple Air. They make these little air quality monitors. They plug into the wall and it uses your Wi-Fi to connect to the internet. And it uploads real-time data, so you can go on the Purple map and see air quality in different places. And it's like, it's free to everybody, it tracks it. So that is what we want to install, like at least 3 of these units, close to Grims as possible, a little bit further downwind, and then like maybe a reference somewhere that's in the same ambient air, so we can compare, like how much of this is Grims, how much of this is just overall So if anybody is interested in making a donation, they're about $300 each, and we need to probably at least 2 or 3 of them. So if you can reach out to me, the Tualatin Road business card's got my email address on it, and that is my update. So,
Thank you, Rick.
questions? Jim?
What about the, I think there's gonna be a light put in maybe at Jurgens and Walden Road, is that still on board?
I don't know. The only light I know about is the one at 115, which was you could bypass it by cutting through your neighborhoods. The one at Jurgens, I think is still in it's
I
not.
thought the city, I thought last year you reported that the city was gonna fund that one.
Yeah, do you want them? It got pulled.
That's really terrible. That's really irresponsible, it's dangerous. It's hard to get out on the road from Jurgens.
Yeah. Any other questions? No. Thank you so much.
Next up, downtown revitalization, and I think if you heard those little buzzwords like what's going on, I'm on the community action team, and so I never been up on it. So Sid, would you introduce yourself to folks and let them know we stole you from Lego?
I guess that's my claim to fame. My name is Sid Sid. I'm the Urban Renewal and Economic Development Manager here with the city. And we're going to give you an update on the downtown revitalization project. And I hope to talk about some of the goals, why we're doing it now, the timeline and the process that we'll be using, and kind of the next steps for this process. And before I get into it, how many people have heard about the downtown? Awesome. Okay. How many of you have taken or took the survey over this summer? Okay, awesome. And if you were to finish this sentence, I wish the downtown had, what would it be?
Food cards.
Food cards, okay.
Community meeting place?
Yes.
Okay.
More room.
Or room. Okay.
Better signage.
Okay.
Playground.
All right, all right. And the reason why I asked that, there's something I'll share with you. Why are we doing this plan? In 2022, the City Council adopted our core area, core opportunity and reinvestment area plan. And that is the 457 acres identified in the green area on the map here. And it's an urban renewal plan that talks about how do we revitalize our downtown area. And some of the core things that it talks about is strengthening the social and cultural, economic vitality of central Tualatin and having a really active downtown core. And so this downtown revitalization project really kind of focuses around the Tualatin Commons area, but it also kind of goes beyond that because we need to start thinking about this not just as a smaller area, but more in a district-wide area. And so this is kind of that a zoom in of the downtown area. The yellow dot is the area that's currently in our downtown, in our code, and it talks about kind of just this area where we have central district design guideline boundaries. There's code for how to do a certain amount of development down there. However, it falls a little short because there's a statement in there that says the developer will comply with it to the maximum extent practicable. So, right, and so over the years, I think the last time we had a development downtown was in 2012. It was a 4-story office building off of Finsbury. So there hasn't been a lot of development downtown. So how do we really re-energize our downtown? So one of the things we're looking at is this, as I said, more of a downtown district. And this red outline is kind of a generic area that we're looking at as part of the downtown area when we're trying to think about what does this community want to be, what do we want to see in the downtown area. It kind of becomes this broader area outside of just the yellow area. Some of the project goals is we're going to build on some of the great work that was already done in 1975, that was the first downtown urban renewal plan. A lot of the work that was done down there, for example, the splash pad, Tualatin, the Lake of the Commons area, and some of the mixed-use residential area, that came out of that project. And so it talked about enhancing transportation, more multimodal, safer connections, environmental stewardship, mixed-use housing options. The other thing we want to do is really figure out, what does this community want to be? Well, what does this community want this downtown? And so the first 5 months of this process, starting in May, is what we focused on, and I'll expand on that a little bit further in the presentation. The other is we have this urban renewal plan that has about 14 different projects in there. Capital projects, revitalization projects, and other projects to enhance our downtown. So how can we get to a point where we start implementing those projects? The other 2 key things is, what's, with the end in mind, what do we want to do with this project? We want to be able to encourage revitalization and reinvestment in this downtown. One of the first things I heard when I came here was a corner of Boonesbury and Tualatin Sherwood, the vacant parcel, right? When is that going to get redeveloped? So it's a process, sorry, it's a process. We need to involve our development partners, our private property partners, because there's only so much we as a community, as a city can do. Again, we're encouraging, trying to set the plate. How can we put the downtown in the best possible position to do this? And that's what this process is about. The other is, when I put my developer lens on it, I think about what are the risks for a developer. 2 things. One is uncertainty. If there's no direction or community identity or what a community wants to be, why would a developer invest $100 million in that community? We're trying to address that through this process. The other is reducing risk, right? With developments, there's a lot of risk. There's a lot of reward as well. And so how do we reduce those risks? Part of it is creating a code that actually says this is what the community wants the downtown to look like. And what that does is it helps them also realize that the next developer next door is going to be held to the same standards, because right now we don't have those standards. And again, as a developer, I don't know what's going to happen next door. I'm not going to invest in the property yet. So those are some of the goals that we're trying to do. So why now? As I mentioned, the core plan adopted in 2022. It's $140 million future investment over the next 30 years in the downtown core area. The Edmonds Plaza is a catalyst project that happened over this summer, and it's one of those things that shows the community and developers that we're investing in our downtown, and it's important for us to do that. And so that to me is a stepping stone to reinvestment in the downtown area. And the other probably most significant thing is the 6 acres that the city purchased for the Riverpark Park. And it's this green area down here, down on the Tualatin River and next to the Winning Pool Center. So that is a significant project. And the way I look at that is similar to Lake Oswego, where they had their Millennium Plaza Park project. And that really kind of grounded the community as a community living room and set the character of what the community wanted to be. This is the opportunity to do the same thing in that area. And so all of those things working together is like, hey, here's a great opportunity. Let's take a lot of this momentum and move that forward and see how we can redevelop the downtown area. Community outreach. This is just some of the photos that we had over the summer. Concert in the Park series, we had a community outreach event, and we also had a downtown walking tour. But this process is guided by the Community Advisory Committee, and you may recognize some of those names on there. Janine Wilson and Chris Constable is on our CAC, and we also have Mayor Buvenik and Council President Pratt on this committee as well. But it's well represented with other boards and commission in this community. So there's about 14 members, and with the alternates on there, we have about 19 members. So this is an overview of some of the outreach that's been done over the summer. The focus groups were really an awesome opportunity to be able to talk with individual businesses in our downtown and think about the retail or the restaurant or the housing in the downtown area. And so our consultant was involved in a lot of this, and they're currently, they've put together a report from this community identity process, and that report is going to be shared out to the city council on December 8th. It'll be televised as well, so I definitely encourage folks to attend that meeting if you can. So this is also one of my favorite things about this process is over the summer I was able to attend Viva Tualatin as well as some other community concert events. And in the right is the map. It was a dot exercise. What CIO do you live in? And so, you know, Riverpark is pretty well represented, and you know, there was a lot of distribution. We had about 68 people there. The other question that was asked is, I wish the downtown had. So here are some of the responses from that event. And food carts, you win. Very popular. Farmers markets, open spaces, central market ideas were definitely part of that. Then there were some other transportation and certain uses that people wanted to see in this downtown area. So then we took the same idea. We went to the Pumpkin Regatta, asked the same question, what CIO are you in? A little different demographics. You know, we had 92 people put dots down, 33 were in the city, 59 were outside the city. Not too surprising, right? Because this is kind of a large event, nationally recognized, and so we have a lot of people coming in. But we took the responses from the concert series and we put those down, and we had people put a dot next to which ones that they supported. Again, food carts, farmers markets, connectivity along the Tualatin River really ranked high as well. And there were, you know, we had some other responses as well. So there's a common theme that's coming out. I mean, food carts, right? We're working on that. And so farmers market, I think, is one of those things. I think we heard a lot from the community thinking we need some other type of community building events in that downtown core area. So project schedule and next steps. This is an infographic that talks about the process that we're in. It's a 3-phase process. We just completed the first phase, which is that community identity process. And I mentioned on December 8th, the reports by our consultant, Sibylis, will be presented to the city council, and it takes a lot of that information from the summer of the community involvement process, and it makes some recommendations based on those things as how can you revitalize, what are certain things that community can do, and there are recommendations for the community to consider. Phase 2 is probably one of my favorites, is we're partnering with the University of Oregon School and their Sustainable City Year program. And we're doing multiple different projects, including a market study, multimodal transportation connectivity study. All of these things kind of help us better understand what this downtown is, kind of dissecting it. And one of my favorite pieces about this is partnering with the architecture program there to do a design charrette on a lot in the downtown area. Because if you remember, the community identity is more like a narrative that talks about what does the community want to see in the downtown. And when you ask someone, well, what does that look like? So a lot of times they'll say, I don't know, but I know it when I'll see it. So the answer is having a design charrette with 15 different students to say, here's the site, here's the community identity of what people would like to see. What does that look like when you draw it? What is the different perspectives and elevations, and what does the streetscape look like? And so that's what this phase 2 is really focused on, is what does it look like? And so taking the phase 1 identity, phase 2 design, next step is translating those into design standards, right? That's one of those things we're thinking about, well, we need to have some design standards so we can give the role assurance and some certainty to the development community. And so that phase 3 is going to be looking at developing design code standards. And then the last step is really implementation. What are we doing there? Where process, they'll see that, hey, this community has a focus and purpose. They know what we want to see in the downtown area. Within urban renewal, we also have certain tools to be able to help kind of move the meter along, if you will, to help redevelop the downtown. So that is kind of the overall process, and the project webpage is down on the bottom here. I hope you get involved. We still have phase 2, phase 3 to get involved in, especially if you like a visual preference survey with the architecture program. We're hoping people will come and say, I like that, I don't like that, and engage in the process that way. So with that, I think I did my 15 minutes. Okay. So available for any questions. Yes.
At Boone's Ferry and Walton Sherwood Road, where East Hydro burned down there, is there any update from the owner of what is going in there?
No update yet, but on a positive note, we met with him several times, and in fact, we have a meeting early December to talk about one of the potential opportunities for that site, do a kind of a technical assistance program with them to kind of think through what they might like to see, and also to share, hey, this is what we're hearing from the community, what they want to see, and see if we can kind of, again, kind of encourage them to look at doing something there.
Thank you.
Go on. So implementation, what year are we thinking? 2030?
We're looking at 2027. So after the phase 3, we should be finished summer, winter 2027 with the code development stuff. But even before then, a lot of the work that I'm doing right now is reaching out to the developers, contractors, and other people I know in the industry and say, hey, don't sleep on Tualatin. This is what we're doing. Be the first developer, to do it, because one, you're going to probably get the best deal out of the deal until things pick up a little bit. So yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're gonna move fast here to get you out. One of our projects this year has been to update our bylaws. The process involves a vote of the membership, right, all folks that live in Riverpark, and approval by the city council for that. So I was hoping to do a little bit of housekeeping on where we are at this point. Is that change in the wording? The bylaws now were written in 2011, so when things were just happening and they were being formed, the CIOs were being formed. So we are called in these bylaws CIO 1. We want to change that to Riverpark, which is what you know. Citizen, used to be the citizen involvement, that's been changed, well, it hasn't been changed, but we would like it changed, that we certainly speak of it as community. We'd like to delete, there's a term in the bylaws that says that if you own property in Riverpark, you are a member. And we want that deleted. It is not a part of the city's code for the CIOs. If you own property but you're not a resident somewhere within the CIO, you're not a member. In addition to the annual meeting, you say, oh, in the fall like this, we have an annual meeting, is we want to add a meeting or another meeting or a community event would make sense. So, does that sound reasonable to you folks that this is what we're working on? Yes, Martha?
Can you clarify, I understand you can own property and not live here and you're not a resident, but do all the people who rent apartments also count as members?
They are members.
Okay, so you
Yes.
live in.
Right, so, and that was a big complaint in the initial notification of a neighborhood meeting, is that maybe somebody in China owned the apartments and nobody else got noticed except for that gentleman or woman, gentlewoman. And the Citizen Involvement Coordinating Committee. And I'm sure you love layers and layers and silos of the CIO's leaders. They've all in agreement that no, we don't need another layer. We do have leadership meetings, and we'd like to just totally eliminate that coordinating council. Does that sound like a reasonable thing? Also, is not add another CIO. And any questions or concerns? See.
There was something in there about the annual meeting, but I thought the bylaws say you have to have 2 meetings a year, or did it just say you just have to have one?
I think we were just talking about the annual.
So are you proposing you're making it so you have to have 2 meetings a year?
You
to
have,
be-
you have like your annual meeting with the elections, and then you can have, what we've done is either a meeting or a community event.
So
And that's
it's
what it
a
seemed like our
requirement?
fairs, yes, it
In
would
the
be a
new bylaws,
requirement.
it'd be a requirement.
Right, we'd like it to be a requirement. So whether it's a fair, it might be the National Night Out event, you know. like that.
Something other than just the.
Right. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll keep pushing away at getting those bylaws up to date and that. And then.
Janine, you might mention though that we have worked on them, gone over them 3 or 4 times, and also that we've removed like 3 pages, because a lot of it was to establish the CIO program. Now it's established, we don't need all that information in there. And then maybe people even read the bylaws. If they're only 2 pages long.
Right, instead of 6 pages, there are 3 pages.
That's
So we'll keep,
That's doable.
yeah, we'll keep doing, okay, on with that. Okay, and then I think we're gonna move on to the elections.
Elections,
Yeah,
yes.
Chris is gonna manage that.
So we have, Janine has been the president for 4 years, and Kate has been the secretary for 4 years, and Rocky has been the land use, officer for 2 years. I've also served for 4 years as vice president. So they asked me to run the elections because all 3 of them are, those offices are up for election. So I would like to open the nominations with the president. Do we have a nomination for the president?
I have a nomination for the president. Kate, get him on, Kate. She's been an excellent secretary. She's been with us long enough. We found her at the dog park.
Are you willing?
I am willing.
Okay, are there any other nominations? So, let's have a vote. Who would like to vote for Kate to be our new president of Riverpark CIO? Oh, wow, look at that. Oh, thank you. Thanks for all your support. So, Janine is not retiring, she's just not gonna be the president. So we're gonna keep her involved because she has been an amazing leader. That's, I appreciate a lot. Okay, now we need a nomination for the secretary.
I would like to nominate Jill Morandi.
Jill, are you willing to serve?
I am willing.
Is there any other nominations? Anyone else want to offer to be the secretary? Keep minutes? No? No? Anybody else? Okay, let's vote. Who supports Jill to be our new secretary? Oh, look at that. Wonderful. Thank you. So that leaves Rocky as our land use officer, and are you willing to serve again?
I am.
Okay, are there any other nominations? I don't see any. Can I have a vote of hands that support Rocky for another year, 2 years? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, well, we have a few more minutes left. I promise to be very brief. I wanted to take a minute to acknowledge Janine Wilson. She has been our president for the last 4 years, and without her dedication, hard work, and leadership, the Riverpark CIO would not be what it is today. So on behalf of the board and myself, we thank you, huge thank you. I have big shoes to fill, obviously. And then lastly, how many of you have attended our community fairs in the past at Jordan's Park? Oh, good, quite a few. Well, next year in 2026, we're gonna mix things up a little bit. In 2026, it's actually the 15-year anniversary for the whole CIO program. So we are gonna have a birthday party theme, and we're at a new location. We're gonna have it at the Tualatin Heritage Center this year, or next year. And I think that's gonna be a great venue for both inside and out. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. The date is June 20th, which is a Saturday. Lots more to come on it. We're still in the early phases of planning, but I wanted to let you know that it's coming up. So with that, thank you very much for coming, and have a great evening. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.